editing stage Ume here. For some reason, there's been a lot of weird noise in the recording, and I just realized it now. And I really don't feel like re-recording half an hour of yapping, so there's gonna be like a lot of weird sounds that I don't know where they're coming from. Like there was no noise, and these sounds didn't appear in the last recording. So yeah, even though I fixed the loudness, so it shouldn't be as bad as the last video, the sounds like these are gonna be possibly quite annoying. So I am sorry for that. Okay, that's it. Enjoy watching. Yo, I'm here. So I finally did some PoBing. So let's dive straight into it. So I will show 3 PoBs. I mean, mostly 2, but I'll make a third one with you so that you can see the leveling process. So this PoB is level 90, something like early game for both Sunder bleed and Lacerate bleed. So just a quick introduction so you understand how to quote-unquote use it. So I have 2 trees, level 90 Sunder, level 90 Lacerate. I have 2 gear sets, Lacerate and Sunder, and I have 2 skill sets, default, which I kind of need to rename right now. Wait. Name Lacerate. Which are both like Lacerate and Sunder. The main difference is that, for example, as you can see, Lacerate has only like Enduring Cry, right? But if you go to Sunder, you'll be able to see that I'll have both Seismic and Enduring. So in my opinion, Seismic is very good both for clear and single target, because for single target it allows for your waves to overlap, thus applying bleed twice, so you have like better rolls because you'll roll twice, so to speak. And for clear, like 50% increased area of effect by default, and then it becomes higher the more you use it. It's just absolutely crazy, and it kind of fixes this problem that Thunder has, where it's has this like line clear and you can't really go beyond that, and it really helps with that, so you can cover like a bigger area, and sometimes you can cover like, I don't know, 1/3 of your screen with that. I would assume that it works that way. So yeah, and urgent orders should technically help Seismic and Enduring be fast enough so that it doesn't feel too clunky, considering that you won't be using them too much. But yeah. So about the tree, a few notes. So the reason I'm taking these nodes, not going around, is because I think that attack speed is a big problem in this build, and technically you could go right like that, because as you can see, I have a dex requirement, mostly due to blood rage, I would assume. Let me see. Yeah, because of blood rage. So by going this way, you can actually de-level blood rage to level 15, and you don't really lose much because of that. So you can go for that for the attack speed that you're going to be lacking. So let me swap to Lacerate so it makes more sense, and 2 items at Lacerate. So here, one quick note. I'm not sure if this node is actually supposed to give me 50 block by default, but if it does, then you can easily cap out on block even without all of these nodes, right? But since I assumed that it's a PoB mistake and this shouldn't be working, I still keep these nodes so that we can cap out on block. So it's a Crimson Dance setup. And wait, I didn't change it here. So we take a Marine stance just to not care about stunts, because I hate stunts. We take Iron Reflexes, but you don't have to. But early on, you won't be able to get armor bases only, and you'll sometimes have to take like hybrid bases. Thus, Iron Reflexes have higher value early on. Of course, take Versatile Combatant. We do take Resolute Technique because like it's a classic. And then, as you can see, we go up here. You might ask why. There's a wheel here. Well, this wheel takes like what, 3 passive points more, and it gives less because, as you can see, I have 14 unreserved mana left. So if I go here instead of here, you see that my mana is only at 9%, and it's kind of right? I do get dex, which is nice, but I would think that going here provides you more utility, because you not only get more curse effect, you also get aura effect, and later on you can spec into another jewel socket and more life. So you get like more stuff basically. Theoretically, right, you could go here if, let's say, in later game setup, when you get Enlighten and you get an Anoint for this thing, right, you could go that way. But since I'm still not sure if any of these Anoints are going to be good, I would assume that it's better to go for here. And even though this costs more, you know, like oil-wise, I would think that taking this early on is better than this, and then maybe you could respec into leader of the pack and then anoint sovereignty if there's no better chance for that, and instead of that. Other than that, as you can see, I'm not taking suppression at all. I'm a big suppression hater, and if you are fine with suppression, you can actually go for it. You can just drop the maximum elemental resistance nodes and go for suppression. But I just really hate that you need to go so far to the right side, and maybe you need to go mage bane and reflexes, and you need to have evasion in your gear at all times. So it means you always have to have iron reflexes, and it's just so annoying. I just hate it. So that's why I opt in for maximum elemental resistance, as you can see in these two wheels, which are convincingly really close to what we need. And you can also get corrupted blood immunity early on because of the mastery for those wheels. Other than that, I would think that this wheel is better than this one, mostly because there's a mastery, increased physical damage with skills that cost life. And as you can see, this by default allows you to proc that mastery. And even though this one gives leech early on, you can easily get a jewel with like life and leech, or global physical damage or leech, or even just bleeding damage and leech, like this one, right? Wait, why is it as life? Am I stupid? I mean, I am stupid, but wait. Oh, you can have them crimson. Okay, my bad, guys. Okay, let's exchange it to jewel, viridian, mana, life, oh boom. This one. So yeah, and you also can convincingly, conveniently enough, get 12% mana armor, which is also really nice. So you don't have to go here, even though you're close to this place. What else? Also, you can take block nodes here, which I really don't like them, but you want to cap them out because, as you can see, if I remove these nodes, yeah, if I take this thing, it just doesn't show. But yeah. Oh wait, right. So the problem I face is that, let's say this thing doesn't work, it means that we need to take these nodes, right, to cap out. And you kind of spend a lot of points doing that. Also, there's a bug that this doesn't count. But yeah, and as you can see, if I add 6 chance to block, as you can see, we pretty much cap out, right? And I get these two. So yeah, so since yeah, basically I don't want to go for this because I just hope that elemental resistance is going to be fine. But if I'm going to be seeing that I die too much from spells, I probably have to take these, because there are no block nodes like any other block nodes we could take. Like we could take these ones, right? But I would feel that they're quite inefficient and they don't really give that much. I mean, they give armor, which is nice, but yeah, I don't know. You cannot take these ones because they don't work for dual wielding. These ones are too far, and yeah, I just quite cringe that this is the only thing you can take. And Baron I know is only, yeah, if you didn't block recently. So yeah, I think that's mostly about it about this PoB. There's nothing else to say. And the calcs, our bleed duration is 5 seconds, which is fine enough, but I would much rather have something like 6 seconds or 5 seconds. But anything lower than like 4 is bad, because like, let's say Lacerate has decent uptime, but if you play something other than Lacerate, your uptime is going to be quite shit because you have to literally stand still and attack for a long while. So 4 and more seconds is better, and even with like bleed duration nodes, it's still low. So maybe I would want to take these nodes at some point and make it 7, so I have more time to like overstack. So what gear is pretty straightforward. This is like very shitty siege axes, not even like deafening essences with crafted 100%. Gear is very straightforward. It's tier 2 life, tier 2 resistances, it's just full armor. There's some physical reduction on the body armor. It's Carnage Heart for ease of capping resistances and attributes. It can also be swapped for a turquoise amulet later on with like some resistances, life, and like an open prefix. But this is just too convenient to pass on. Mark of Submission early on, very straightforward. Two-stone ring with all elemental resistances doesn't have to be that, but it makes, again, evening the resistances very easy. And leather belt, again, resistances and life. And as you can see, I'm overcapped like 40 or more. And some of you might wonder why. Because of the exposure and like elemental weakness, frostbite, conductivity, and flammability. So basically you want to be capped, like overcapped at least 30 resistances, if not more. So that's why being overcapped is good. The only problem is that once we start equipping ryslatha and stuff, it becomes difficult, which is why you want to have more resistances once you swap to ryslatha, as well as you would need to swap Mark of Submission as fast as possible. And you would want to have something like a ring with implicit of vulnerability on hit, or just Warlord's ring, which is harder to craft, but if you hit the one, like Amethyst ring and stuff, then you're set and done. Solo skills, it's just straightforward, Lacerate, Hammerhage, Malefice, Brutality, Chance to Bleed, Multistrike, Fortify. There's no Ruthless here, because in my opinion, Ruthless is inferior to Multistrike, and combining both Multistrike and Ruthless makes your clear too bad. Fortify straightforward, just more resilience. Chance to Bleed has more multiplier for bleeding, which you don't really find anywhere else. Brutal Malefice, pretty classic, nothing to explain. Volatility, though. I think that Volatility is a bait. Now hear me out. Volatility is only good in prolonged fights, and from what I've seen, it starts showing its value only later on. So basically, it completely destroys your burst, and it's only against something like Ubers. That's where it actually shines. But we have Ryslatha's coil, so why do we need to like waste one support gem on that? So out of 3 gems, which are Swift Affliction, Cruelty, and Deadly Elements, which you can see are at the top of the damage charts, all of them have problems, which I'll explain. First, Swift Affliction. It kills your bleed duration. Remember, you need to have high enough bleed duration. And if you take Swift Affliction, your bleed duration just falls over and dies, right? Cruelty is a bait because, as you can see, average damage is only 6,000. That's not enough to proc even at least 20% of Cruelty on most bosses. You would want to have at least a few tens of thousands for Cruelty to be worth it, if not like 50,000 and above, like Slams have, which is why Cruelty is better on Slams, like Sunder, or EO or Q. And Deadly Elements, I mean, it's pretty easy, it just kills your Leech, both Mana Leech and Life Leech, and since your Life Leech is a pretty important part of your recovery, all of these are bait, and Volatility as well. So don't listen to a BB. Oh my god, POB, bad POB. So yeah, whatever. The next, we have the usual Aura setup, Determination, Pride, Warband, and Blood and Sand. You can later on add Flesh and Stone when you get some reservation in your helmet, and maybe even in body armor. Because from what I understand, Flesh and Stone still works on bleed, even though it says from hits. It like physical damage from hits, so it affects the roll of your hit that inflicts bleed. So it should be fine. Even though we don't need Blood and Sand for like stand swapping anymore, I still think that more area is very nice. Also, one thing I forgot to say, Lacerate of Hammerhage is really bad at clearing. So if I was to play this, I would carry like a normal Lacerate in offhand. And whenever I clear, I would do the normal Lacerate or like just map, right? But when I go for Maven, Invitation, or like either Exarch bosses, I would swap to Hammerhage to like deal the most single target damage, because this gem has like what, 70 if not 100% more damage with bleed than normal Lacerate. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. Next is Enduring Cry, Urgent Orders, Vulnerability, and Life Tap. I put Vulnerability here because some of you might not want to take Mark of Submission due to resistance issues that it causes, which is fine. Then the classic cast with damage taken, Molten Shell, and just Blood Rage separately, so it doesn't constantly proc when you take damage. And the usual movement setup, which is Frost Blink, Leap Slam, Faster Attacks, and Life Tap. Some might like Flame Dash because of its charges, but I really like the ability to cancel Leap Slam or extend the Leap Slam with Frost Blink, and Life Tap just to not have to care about mana as a whole. So that's about Lacerate. Let's go to Sunder Tree and Sunder Equipment. What I did with Sunder Equipment basically is that I just copied it from Lacerate and just replaced it with the axe. This axe is just top tier essence with Exalt crafted physical percent mod. Still, it's like very straightforward, very easy to craft axe. So there's nothing serious here. It's the same gear as you can see, same mods, all that stuff. So as you can see, the tree is a bit different here. We are more starved than Dex, which is why Blood Rage might not be the call early on, or you just need to keep it low level. Let me just remove block. So again, I didn't swap it here. So I'm not sure if Warcry nodes is the way, but I really want to make using Warcries not clunky, so I tried to take as much Warcry speed as possible, so this node, and take enemies don't be take increased damage, because as you might know, increased damage for enemies, like Pride or Maim, is very strong, because it like because it adds at the very end of the equation, thus it multiplies your damage big time, as well as recover 50% of life when you use a Warcry is an insane mastery, and even if you have only 2 Warcries, you would still be able to recover an immense amount of life. This part of the tree might seem really weird, because I could take the same mastery here, but I would think that, like, attack speed is really important, but it is possible that I would drop this and go for something like this, and then have more free points to go somewhere else, but I would still rather keep this part, especially since I take it early on and it takes less respec. I think that's pretty much the same. Same bleed nodes goes here. It goes to Constitution for more life. And I didn't take the jewel socket because I'm stupid. But yeah, it has a bit more increased life from the tree. And you don't necessarily have to go here, because you could get some more life in other places. Like you could go here, or you could take these small nodes, or you could even go for Golem's Blood, which I don't think is worth it, so maybe Constitution is the best way to go about it. But these nodes, for example, they give you armor, so I would think that these nodes are quite good. Other than that, it's the same. It goes up here, it takes jewel sockets and these life nodes earlier, because you don't have to invest a block. And even though it's like less resilient against many hits, the Phys max hit and Elemental max hit is still pretty much the same. So I wouldn't say it's that much less tanky. I wouldn't say it might be more tanky, considering how much more life you get, because you have like more points to spare. And even if you want to, you can actually like not go here, and you can take some more points here if you want to make it even more tankier, just in case. Yo, editing stage Ume. I forgot to mention that I didn't make a shield PoB because I'm not really interested in making a shield one, because it's a decently explored thing and there isn't much new to that. Obviously the shield setup will be more tanky than dual wield and two-hander one. And yeah, basically there was nothing to cook, so I just didn't make it. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, my bad. But if there's gonna be enough people that are gonna ask for the shield PoB, I'm gonna make it and edit the description and put it there. So yeah, see ya. So yeah, still some maximum mental resistances. I didn't take these nodes because with Sunder, you have perma aggravation, so you don't need these, and you can actually get more DPS by giving this up than by taking it. So yeah, I think that's it with Sunder tree. Let me see if I didn't forget anything. Yeah. So about skills, it's Sunder, it's Fist of War, Melee Fist, Brutality, Cruelty, and Fortify. So let me explain. Rolling for good bleeds might be the play with like Multistrike and Ruthless, but I would think that going for one strong hit with Fist of War might be better than that, because it's more reliable, and even though its high-end DPS is not as good, it can still be good. I would think so. And as you can see, all the other gems are for that one big hit. So Cruelty, you can use it here because as you can see, your average damage is 70 plus 1000, which is enough to proc 40% Cruelty on most bosses, especially once you get some quality, which increases your effect. Fortify is classic, Brutality, Melee Fizz is also classic. Fist of War is getting buffed, because I don't know if you read or not, but they're removing the line of 69% nice more damage with ailments, and they're making that so 98 more damage with hits will also affect ailments. So it's like 50% buff for Fist of War, and I think that it's a crazy buff. Like in early game, in the mid game, in late game, it's really good. And to like talk about this like setup as a whole, the reason I'm showing it to you because my plan for this league start is to start with Sunder, farm some gear, and then Spec into Lacerate late game setup, which I'll show you after this one. Gear's the same, just don't take ryslatha. Please don't take ryslatha for Sunder, I beg you. You can take it for Lacerate, but don't take it for Sunder, because at least in this setup, which is not Multistrike Ruthless, I think it would do more bad than good. But if you go for Multistrike Ruthless, which would be something like this, right? Then you could go for ryslatha. And as you can see, my attack speed goes from 180 to 257, and you could actually go and respec that because you don't really lose that much attack speed. And even if you take the mastery back, your attack speed is still like 50% better, if not more, and you can invest those points somewhere else on the tree. So yeah. Now the next PoB is endgame perfect agony. First I'll discuss the problems. Crit capping is fucking hard. Like, the damage numbers seem quite bad, so wait, I didn't say Crimson. Damage numbers seem really bad, so I'm not sure. To all of that, it's a level 100 PoB. It has to invest in block, and has to take cluster jewels, and has some, like, forbidden flesh for overwhelm to cap crit, and then it has the node that increase critical strike chance against bleeding enemies, and it has to take care of the accuracy because you cannot take resolute technique. And then you have to have Replica Azira's Acuity, and then Ungul's Harmony, but also you have Ryslatha Squirrel, so you have less place for resistances, and you also need vulnerability on hit. Then you need some global accuracy rating on jewels, and then the siege axes should be good enough, and even though you don't need to take critical strike chance because Overwhelm actually fixes that problem, you still need to get crit multi so that it's worth, because you need at least 90 crit multi so you can drop critical strike affliction and take a brutality instead of that. Oh my god, there's so many problems with this setup, and I really don't know if this is even worth it, because I've been fucking my mind with this setup for quite a while, and even with like exile, like all the implicits and decently good gear and the forbidden jewels and clusters, I am not sure this is worth doing, like, honestly. I mean, maybe it is, but I'm just not seeing it for now. I think I'll need to think about it and cook more. But I know that this damage is unreliable, but still, holy fuck, this is so bad. Like, yeah, I don't know. This doesn't look good, lads. So, I wouldn't recommend this specific PoB as something you would want to do, because I myself am not sure whether it's good or not. I'm just sharing that it looks really bad, like, from what you need to take care of. It's just too much. And I would think that perfect agony rework is a big bait for bleed, and that the only thing you would want to care about is rupturing, because if you care about rupturing, you only need like 20 or 30% crit chance to use it efficiently. So it means, right, well, let's imagine we ignore perfect agony. So what we need to do is we can give up all of that, right? We can give up Ungul's Harmony. We have 30% already. And that is more than enough. Constantly proc rupturing. I mean, we can also take this node because we need accuracy nevertheless, right? Can I drop precision? No, I cannot. And then instead of these like useless gems, we can just go rupturing, even though it's not here, and possibly deal more damage. So I would really think that perfect agony is just overcooking this whole idea. And then you don't really need like this setup, and you can go for some crit elsewhere. You can go some crit here, right? Even though it gives crit multi. So yeah. From what I've seen, perfect agony still seems like a big bait. It's good for ignite or for poison, but for bleed, yeah, I don't know, lads. It's not looking good for bleed. So yeah, that's mostly for the PoBs that cooked up. But since I promised you, wait, let me turn on the fan. It's getting hot from all the cooking. So I promised you I'll show you 3 PoBs. So this is the PoB of how I would level Bleed Gladiator. So since they moved Hatchet Master from here to here, because the way you usually would go for is you play Spectral Throw, right? This is, you get this up to Brutus, then you get this before Merveil, and then you would go like this, and let's imagine this Hatchet Master, right? You could go this, and you would take the Mastery for Rage. Now, you cannot do that, and to all of that, even though there's Rage here, Rage doesn't give you attack speed, which is like the main problem in my opinion. And even though you technically can still take this Rage early on, it doesn't work with Helix, which I will use, right? So what you would do instead is I decided that it's probably better to go to my old setup, where back in the day, when I was only starting to speedrun, I was using this setup, right? You get a lot of attack speed, which compensates for the loss of the Hatchet Master, and you get it at level 16, which is really early on, which is like Weaver or something. And you don't have to care about damage that much, because up to like level 26, like, wait, let me see. So you get here when you're fighting, you're not even going to get here before you fight Act 2 boss, but the attack speed will improve your, like, going around the map, not the map, but the zones really well. And because Spectral Throw got buffed, considering that it's already strong in Acts, for me, for the way I play, I can starve myself for like what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nodes, 7 nodes for damage. I can endure that because Spectral Throw is just OP, just like Helix. But there's a world in which if you're playing like bleed straight away, let's say you really want to try out those bleed skills, even though they're still shit early on, you would probably go in the zigzag fashion. So like something like, I don't know, something like this, right? You would still want to go for Destroyer because this node is OP. Then you would take this, like before Merveil, and then you go for Bleed or something. I honestly don't know. I never do that, so I really have no experience, but I think this is the way. Especially if you go something like Sunder, you get chance to aggravate bleeding hits. I mean, chance to aggravate on targets you hit with attacks. Yeah, I can't speak. I don't know why something's off. But yeah. And so if I go back to my strategy, so what I would do is I would take this, I'd go here. I'm still on Helix, still Spectral Throw, and then I'm still not sure what I'm going to do, because it is possible that I would want to go here for Onslaught anyway, but again, I'm starving myself for too long. So it is possible that I'm going to spec to Sunder in Act 4 once I get Bleed Pops. I go for something like this. Then I go here. Then I go for Mana Leech, even though it's a bit too early on in the game. I still feel like getting Mana Leech is very comfy. I'm not taking Crimson Dance because Sunder and Aggravating, which is 10% only, but I could technically take the Aggravation after 4 seconds, which might be too late at that point, but yeah. Then you can respec that. And again, now is the choice, where I need some mana reservation to feel nice, and that's where going for Hatchet Master could actually benefit me a lot, because it puts me really close to leader of the pack, which is why I think that maybe it's better to actually not go for Bleed until like Act 6, just like you do with Bone Shatter, and instead you go with Helix and Spectral Throw early on, and you take this Mastery, right? You go like here, and only after this point you start taking notes for Bleed, which like you get in Act 6, I think level 40 something, like 41, 42. And yeah, so this is when you start taking Bleed, and you also get a guaranteed 4-link from Tarly, so it's also worth mentioning. And then later on, I would say you go something like this, right? You also need to take these notes, I forgot. Taking these notes, especially for Piety, when you don't have enough resistances, this helps you like a lot. Then you could already take Reservation and even Mana Reservation Mastery, so this is like Act 7, somewhere around that point. And there's an option of starving yourself on points to get to the Slaughter, but I don't think it's a good choice, even though it gives you like a lot of attack speed. It might be an angle to go for Martial Experience and go somewhere here and for these nodes, and only after that you could make an Abomination like this, right? And the problem, as you can see here, that you get Resolute Technique only at level 64, which means that you'll have to carry Precision all this time. which I'm not sure is a good call because this is like level 54. You'll have to starve yourself from damage for 4 levels at this point. So yeah, again, I still need to cook up something because, I mean, yeah, it's not that bad, but yeah. Leveling seems kind of whack at this point. So maybe going for like Axe Mastery is even better than I think, because you can get Rage on hit with Axes, and since early on you deal a lot of damage on hit specifically when you're playing Spectral Throw and Helix, usually worth it. Also, an idea I have is that maybe you don't take attack speed and you just, you know, you just suffer and you just go as per usual. You just go here instead, and then you go here. But this is looking really wacky, to be honest, because you're losing like a lot of damage, you're losing a lot of speed, and yeah, it's quite weird. I don't know. Yeah, that would be my like leveling strategy, and as you can see, I'm very uncertain because so much changed, and I'm so used to the meta that, like the meta with the Hatchet Master, Wrecking Ball, that I'm still not sure how to go about it. So basically experiment, and if you think that I'm wrong, just try something different, and maybe you'll do even better than I will. So yeah, don't take my word on that. Yeah, I think that is mostly it. If I missed anything, I'll probably edit it in at the editing stage. So yeah, I think that's it. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. As you can see in the previous video, I answered all the comments, and I'll try to do the same here if you have any questions regarding the build or the PoB or what you can do. For the people who ask for something like Bladestorm or Perforate PoB, I'm sorry I didn't do it, but you could technically take this PoB with Lacerate setup and just replace Lacerate with Perforate or Bladestorm and cook something there. So yeah, the PoBs are going to be in the description, so make sure to check them out. And yeah, thanks for watching, and have a nice day. Bye. What's wild Pokemon UmeChrono appears. I guess right. I forgot to mention. Wait, what did I forgot to mention? Oh my god, there's something I forgot to mention. Why am I? You know, blah.